Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting genuinely well-informed. We unpack complex topics, find those surprising facts, and hopefully add just enough humor to keep you listening. Today, we're diving into teaching. It's often called one of the noblest professions, and it makes sense, right? Teachers shape future generations, instill values, play this absolutely vital role in society. But our mission in this deep dive is to look past that image, to really unpack the real struggles teachers face, challenges that maybe don't get talked about enough, but they deeply affect teachers' lives and, yeah, the quality of education for everyone. Our whole conversation today, it's grounded in this document we examined, The Real Struggles of Teachers.pdf.
And understanding this stuff isn't just about, feeling sorry for teachers. It's actually crucial for you. To really get the full picture of education, you kind of have to look beyond the nice idea of the classroom and see the day-to-day grind. This dive should get you up to speed quickly, but properly. And I think you'll probably have a few aha moments about what teaching today really involves.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where do we even start with these hidden realities? Our source jumps right in, basically highlighting the sheer amount of work. You know that idea that the school day ends with the bell?
Yeah, forget that.
Right. The document makes it super clear. For teachers, that's often just the beginning of round two.
Yeah.
We're talking loads of lesson planning, grading assignments, piles of them getting activities ready.
Oh, and the meetings. Don't forget the administrative meetings.
Exactly. All that stuff eating into evenings, weekends. But it's not just the time, is it? What's the real sort of deeper impact of a workload like that?
That's the key question, yeah. The source isn't just counting hours, it's spelling out the actual consequences. This massive commitment, it's not just inconvenient, it leads directly to serious stress, constant fatigue, and honestly, burnout. A lot of burnout. What really struck me is how these other duties, the non-teaching stuff, they don't just add on, they fundamentally change the job. It becomes something way more demanding than just teaching, leaving very little space for anything else. And the source actually points out this relentless workload. It's a huge factor in why so many teachers leave the profession within, the first 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a much higher rate than many other high-stress jobs. It's not just tiredness. It's a system losing experienced people.
Okay, so following straight on from that intense workload, let's talk about something else the source really hammered home for me. Hey, we call teaching a calling, but the numbers, well, they tell a bit of a different story, don't they? The document shows that in many places, a teacher, even with a master's degree, might earn, 20–30% less than someone starting out in a totally different public sector role needing similar education. It really makes you wonder, if we value teaching so much, why isn't that reflected in the paycheck?
That's a core issue, and the impact is pretty stark. The source shows this pay gap forces some teachers to, juggle part-time jobs just to make ends meet for their families. Just think about that. Someone dedicating their working life to kids' futures has to split their focus because they can't afford not to.
Right.
That takes time and energy directly away from students, away from the classroom. And that inevitably affects the education you or people might get. It's not just low pay. It's basically society putting a low number on the value of the work. And that has real downstream effects on quality.
And when teachers are stretched like that workload, money, worry, those stresses don't just vanish at the classroom door, right? Which brings us neatly to the next big challenge. Classroom management. It sounds intense. Trying to balance discipline, but also be empathetic, keep everyone motivated, deal with all these different personalities, different behaviors, all at once. It sounds like a constant juggling act.
It absolutely is. And then layer on top of that the difficulty of large class sizes. The source really emphasizes this. When you have too many students in one room, teachers are just spread incredibly thin.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It becomes almost impossible to give that individual attention that's so important for learning. How do you spot the kid who's quietly struggling in a class of 35 or 40? Or give meaningful feedback when you've got hundreds of papers?
Right.
It just means less specific help for you as a student and, frankly, a less effective learning space overall.
And speaking of challenges inside the classroom, the source paints a really concerning picture about resources sometimes, especially in areas that don't have much funding. Schools lacking basic things like basic facilities, teaching materials, things you'd assume are just there.
Yeah, and this is where you see incredible teacher dedication, but it also highlights a massive system failure. The document shares this detail. It's quite moving. Actually, teachers often spend their own money.
Seriously.
Yeah. out of their own pockets for essentials like pens, paper, books, sometimes even tech for the kids.
Yeah.
It's not just being nice. It means teachers are basically subsidizing basic educational needs, and that directly impacts delivering quality education consistently, when the basics depend on a teacher's personal bank account.
Okay, so you've got workload, pay, classroom size, lack of resources.
Mm.
Then there's the pressure from outside, like a constant tightrope walk. The source digs into these unrealistic expectations from, well, everyone, parents, administrators, society generally. It's not just teach the kids. It's like they're expected to be miracle workers.
And what feels particularly unfair, and the source points this out, is the blame game.
Oh, yeah.
If a student isn't doing well, often the finger points straight at the teacher. Even if the real reasons are totally outside the classroom, problems at home, nutrition, mental health stuff.
Things the teacher has zero control over.
Exactly. And this ties into a wider societal thing, maybe, of undervaluing teaching, not fully recognizing the huge dedication, the complex skills, the sheer weight of responsibility involved. The standards are almost impossibly high.
And here's something that might surprise you, actually, given how fast the world changes. Limited chances for professional growth for teachers. Education's always evolving, right? New tech, new teaching ideas, updated curricula popping up all the time. So how do teachers keep up?
Well, that's the problem. There's often a disconnect. The source is pretty clear. Teachers don't always get enough good training or real opportunities to develop professionally, which makes it really hard for them to adapt, to grow, to stay current with these important changes.
So they're just expected to figure it out.
Pretty much. It's fascinating, isn't it? Continuous learning is so vital for educators, yet the system often doesn't really support it. They end up having to innovate on their own time, often spending their own money again.
Beyond the curriculum, the source really explores the wider role teachers play. They're not just teaching subjects.
No, not at all.
They become mentors, counselors sometimes, really important role models.
And that leads straight into a significant emotional burden. They're supporting students dealing with really tough stuff, family problems, emotional difficulties, poverty. Sometimes the teacher is the only stable, caring adult in that kid's life.
That's a lot to carry.
It is. And while that care is absolutely crucial for the student, the document stresses the heavy emotional toll this takes on teachers. They aren't always trained as counselors, and they don't always get the support they need to handle it. It's this huge, often invisible weight that people outside the profession just don't see.
And then there's job insecurity. Maybe not something everyone thinks about with teaching, but the source highlights it, especially in, like, private schools or for teachers on contracts.
Yeah, it's not always that stable career path people assume. The source mentions things like pressure to hit certain performance metrics, dips in student enrollment, sudden decisions by management. All that can lead to teachers losing their jobs unexpectedly.
That must be incredibly stressful.
For sure, and that instability, it actively puts talented people off from becoming teachers in the first place, or makes experienced ones leave. If you connect that to the bigger picture, it really raises questions about how we keep good educators long term. How do you build consistency if the job itself feels precarious?
Okay, finally, let's touch on the actual physical and mental health impact.
Right.
The toll this profession takes.
Right. It's significant. The source lists some common issues you might not immediately connect with teaching. Things like chronic throat problems from talking constantly, back pain from being on their feet all day.
Makes sense.
And importantly, serious mental health concerns, anxiety, depression are mentioned quite a bit. And it's all linked back to those long hours, the constant stress, and having virtually no time left for self-care. It paints a picture of a job that really demands a huge physical and psychological price.
So, okay, we've laid out a lot of really tough challenges, but it's not all bleak. Our source doesn't just list problems. It does point towards solutions, too.
Thankfully, yes.
It briefly sums them up.
Right.
Improving teacher pay, that seems critical. Reducing class sizes, which sounds essential for actual teaching. Investing properly in school resources so teachers aren't funding basics themselves, and offering regular, useful professional training.
And just as important, the source stresses is actually recognizing and respecting teachers, seeing them as the vital backbone of the whole education system. If these solutions were put in place, you can easily see how they directly improve the quality of education that you or your family might experience. It's about creating an environment where teachers can actually do their best work, which means students benefit hugely.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, listening? Well, it means these struggles are real, they're common, and they have a direct impact, not just on the well-being of teachers, but on the quality of education students get.
And maybe to leave you with one final thought to chew on. The source puts it quite powerfully. If we want stronger education systems and brighter futures, we must first take care of our teachers. Supporting them means supporting the generations to come. So, considering everything we've talked about today, all those challenges, maybe ask yourself, what could actually be done? What personal actions or bigger societal changes could genuinely help support those generations to come by first really supporting their teachers? It's worth thinking about the ripple effects in your own community and for the kind of future we all want.